The scream did not come from the sky, but from the earth itself, as if the mountain had found a voice and decided to cry for mercy. And when the sound reached the small, forgotten village of Rethmore, it cut through walls, dreams, and hearts, and every living thing felt it, even those who pretended not to. Karila felt it first. She was already awake, sitting on the cold floor of the stable, where she slept, because no one wanted her inside their homes, and when the sound reached her chest, she dropped the bowl in her hands and pressed her palms to her ears, but it did not help, because the scream was not sound alone. It was pain, fear, and loneliness woven together. The villagers ran for torches, and sword Solara ran toward the mountain she had always been wrong in the eyes of others, born during an eclipse, mother, dead by morning, father hanged as a traitor before she learned to speak, they said. Cursed blood made cursed children. Solara grew thin, quiet, and invisible. She worked for food, slept with animals, and learned early that kindness was rare and conditional. No one noticed when she disappeared into the dark path, climbing toward the Black Spine Mountains, where even soldiers feared to go. The wind sharpened as she climbed, biting through her worn cloak, and the ground beneath her boots turned from soil to ash and stone, and with every step the scream grew weaker, like something dying slowly and begging not to be forgotten. She found him in a shattered valley hidden between broken cliffs. Dragon was enormous, but he looked small, curled in on himself, wings torn, body pierced by black iron spears etched with glowing runes that burned his scales from the inside, and blood dark and steaming soaked the ground beneath him. His chest rose. Barely his eye opened, not with rage, with exhaustion. Ella froze. She should have screamed or run, or fainted. Said she whispered, "Die. I'm sorry." The dragon did not move. She stepped closer, shaken. "I did not know they hurt you like this." The dragon closed his eye, as if that single sentence had cost him more strength than he could spare. That night Alara did not return to the village. She tore strips from her cloak and pressed them to his wounds, and when the runes burned her skin, she bit her lip and kept going. She whispered stories to him, stories no one had ever asked to hear, about cold nights, about being unwanted, about pretending not to hurt. At dawn, the dragon spoke not with his mouth, but inside her mind. "Why do you stay?" Her breath caught. "Because you are alone." The dragon was silent for a long time. Then he answered, "So are you." His name was Verixance, the first flame sentinel, guardian of balance, sworn by ancient oaths to protect both sky and ground. Betrayed when kings learned fear was easier than trust. Cursed so his fire turned inward, devouring him slowly. Hunted until the world believed dragons were monsters, and monsters deserved chain. Solara returned every night. She stole food. She learned herbs. She ignored the whispers growing louder in the village. They said something followed her into the mountains. They said the girl had finally found her true kind. Soldiers arrived. The king himself wanted the dragon dead. Dragonheart could power cities for generations. When the soldiers followed Alara, she did not see them until steel flashed behind her. They surrounded the Valavarix, tried to rise. The chains burned brighter. "Unchild," he said. She stepped in front of him. "If you want him, you take me to the captain laughed too. Think you Mataran?" Arrow Fluvarix moved faster than pain. Fire erupted as the arrow struck his chest. Instead of hers, the runes exploded. Varix screamed again, louder than before. The soldiers charged. Alara felt something awaken in her blood. Heat without flame power, without control. Varix pulled her close with his broken wing. "Listen to me," he said. "There is something I never told. Youth captain raised his sword. You were never cursed." Elarathi's sword fell light, shattered the air. Alara screamed as fire wrapped her, not burning, but remembering. Something ancient and forgotten. Chains broke, spears melted. Men fled. She saw everything then. Her father kneeling before Varix, begging him to save his child. The oath carved into her blood, the truth buried with fear. She was the last ember-bound, born not to rule, but to restore. When the light faded, the valley was silent. Varix stood free. Alara stood, changed the world, would hunt them, let it. Varix said. They rose into the sky together, leaving behind a kingdom built on fear. Years later, stories spread of a girl and a dragon of fire that healed instead of destroyed, of hope born from ashes. And somewhere deep in the mountains the earth finally stopped screaming because it was no longer the world did not forgive them for surviving, it feared them more. When Elara and Varix vanished into the clouds, the king of Rethmor did not sleep for 7 nights, and on the 8th he declared a holy purge. Not against dragons, for they were nearly gone, but against the girl who rode one. He named her the Ash, which the flame cursed the end of men. Every lie spread faster than truth. Elara felt it, even in the high silent skies, where the air was thin and cold, and stars felt close enough to touch. She leaned against Varix's neck as he flew slower, now his wounds healing, but scars remaining, as reminders of what mercy had cost him. They will never stop hunting us, she whispered. Varix answered with a sadness older than mountains. They never stop hunting what reminds them of their sins they hid in places forgotten by maps, ruined temples, swallowed by vines. Caves where ancient dragons once slept, valleys where the ground was warm from sleeping fire. Elara learned. She learned to listen to flame, to calm it, to shape it, without anger, but power did not. Hill loneliness at night. She dreamed of the stable of cold straw, of hands that never reached for her. Sometimes she dreamed of chains. One night, she woke screaming. Varix landed immediately, wrapping his wings around her. I saw them, she cried. Children. Burning cities falling. I am afraid of what I can become. Varix lowered his massive head until his eye met hers. Power does not choose cruelty. Fear does. Before she could answer, the sky cracked. Not with thunder, with wings. 3 dragons descended. Their scales were dull, their eyes hollow, bound collared with the same runes that once tortured. Varix's riders stood upon their backs, wearing white armor marked with the king's sigil. Dragon slavers. The fight was chaos. Fire clashed with fire. Sky tore itself apart. Varix fought with rage and restraint, holding back, knowing Elara was still learning. One dragon fell screaming as its collar exploded. Another turned on its rider, ripping him apart. The 3rd dragon did not fight. It looked at Elara. Help me. The voice was weak, broken. Elara felt the pain flood her mind. Centuries of obedience, of fire used as weapon, not gift. She reached out instinctively. The rune collar burned her hands. She screamed, but did not pull away. Please, she whispered. I know. Chains. Light flared. The collar shattered. The dragon collapsed free and crying like a child, but the last rider aimed his spear at Elara's heart. Varix roared, diving too late. Elara stepped forward, not in fear, in choice. She caught the spear. Mid-air flame wrapped it, not destroying, but stopping it. The rider froze, staring at her. What are you? She asked softly. The rider shook. A monster, he whispered. Elara, let the spear fall. No, she said. I am what you tried to kill. The rider fled that night. The freed dragon bowed its head. My name is Soren, it said. I did not think freedom was real. Elara cried then, not from pain, but from something warm and terrifying. Hope. But hope always asks for a price. Word spread, not just of destruction, but of mercy. Of dragons breaking chains, of a girl who healed fire. The king answered with betrayal. He sent priests, not soldiers. They carried relics, ancient words, a ritual meant to sever ember-bound souls from the world. They found Elara while she slept. Magic tore her from Varix's side. She woke bound in light, unable to move. Varix screamed, shaking the sky, but the ritual walls held. The head priest knelt before her. You could have been a god, he said. Instead you chose monsters. Elara met his eyes. So did you. The ritual began. Her fire turned inward, burning, breaking. She felt herself fading. Varix slammed against the barrier until his scales cracked. Elara reached for him. Varix, she whispered, do not let me disappear. Varix did something no dragon had done in ages. He broke his oath. He poured his core flame into her, sacrificing his immortality. The barrier shattered. Light consumed the night. When the world returned to silence, the priests were ashy. Elara lay breathing, barely alive. Varix lay still. Elara crawled to him, sobbing, do not leave me. His eye opened faintly. I was never meant to live forever, he said. only long enough to protect you. She pressed her forehead to his. You are my family. Varric smiled in the way dragons do not often smile. Then he slept, not dead but mortal. Ilara stayed beside him as dawn rose. She understood then her destiny was not to rule, or burn, or destroy. It was to choose compassion again and again, even when the world answered with fear, and somewhere deep beneath the mountains the old gods watched in silence because, for the first time in an age, fire had learned how to love.